Hey, nerdy sports fan here, and we're talking Week 11 NFL action. We've got the Saints going on the road to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before last week, we would have called it and said, yeah, Saints all day, don't even bother watching the game. But Atlanta may have shown people the blueprint for beating the Saints. Now, this might have been because of just a bit of rust from Drew Brees, and that's what I like to think it is. He had a great game, the first game after injury before the bye week, but coming out of a bye week, only having one game under his belt, I can see there still being some rust issues for Drew Brees, and they didn't really get a good performance out of their offensive line at all. Atlanta was all over them. Tampa's defensive front is pretty damn good, and yeah, they've got, the sack leader right now. And they've got a good run D. If there is a weakness, and there is, it's the defensive secondary. So I don't see them being able to have the performance that Atlanta did. Atlanta got a lot of those sacks because of coverage. And I think that was Dan Quinn coaching for his job. Which you don't necessarily have going on in Tampa right now. Bruce Arians is not worried about his job status right now. Everybody knew that he was coming into a tire fire of a roster, so they're benching and cutting people to see what works for their defensive secondary, but I just don't think they have the personnel to do what Atlanta did. So they're not going to get to Drew Brees in that way. And the passing game for the Saints is going to dominate this game. Michael Thomas will go off. Cooks will go off. And all the random no-name receivers, there's going to be one of them that goes off. It's just the way that Drew Brees operates. If you have a Saints jersey on, you have the potential to have a fantastic game as a receiver when you're going up against a weak pass defense. So I think Kamara is going to be in the game plan, but I think that he's going to be more a receiving threat than a running threat because, again, Tampa's run defense is actually damn good. So Kamara's an X factor. Any game he can go off, but it really falls on Drew Brees here. As long as he's not under pressure like he was last week, and again, I don't think he will be because the coverage from Tampa Bay is going to be bad enough that he's going to be able to release the ball quickly. I think Drew Brees has himself a game. I was able to pick up Drew Brees on the waiver wire this week. Doesn't make any frickin' sense to me, but he might be available in your league. And for the end run of the season, I'd pick him up. Yeah, games like this are the reason you do that. So Cook, Thomas, Drew Brees, Kamara, all number ones started against this defense. Tampa's defense is so good up front. They don't deserve what's going on in the back end. But the back end is so bad that all of these guys are going to go off. The Saints defense, they're not going up against as talented a unit as they were last week, but it's close. I mean, Tampa's offense has really good skill position players. Their real weakness is inconsistency from Winston, caused by a really, really weak offensive line. And I think the Saints defense can take advantage of that. Cameron Jordan is a monster, and he's not going to be blocked up by this offensive line. He just won't. So I think the Saints defense is going to be pissed off about last week, and they're going to take it out on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So start that D, start all of the Saints offensive players, but from Tampa, you don't want to start any running back in general because they have a really deep running back room that you never really know who's going to be used more frequently. but the receivers are still going to get theirs. Don't start Winston. He's going to have turnovers and he's going to get sacked all day. But the receivers need to be in there. Garbage time's a thing for fantasy football. So Chris Godwin and Mike Evans need to be in your lineup because Marshawn Lattimore can only cover one of them. And I saw him dealing with some injury last week. Who knows what kind of performance you're going to get out of the Saints secondary right now. Considering what Atlanta did to them last week, you're going to have issues. And Lattimore could shut down one of those guys. I don't think he's going to be playing this week. He's listed as doubtful right now. And even if he does play, he's not going to be full strength. So Mike Evans and Chris Godwin need to be in your lineup, both of them. They're going to get plenty of balls thrown their way, and with Lattimore out of the lineup for the Saints, those guys are going to get theirs. They are going to feast on this secondary. They're going to be behind most of the game, so there's going to be a lot of balls thrown their way, and they will take advantage. So both of those guys are number one receiving options, in spite of the fact that they're going to lose this game pretty damn bad. Saints are 5.5-point favorites. I think that's about right. This is going to be a high offensive output game, but the Saints are just better. If I have to call it, I would actually say the Bucks beat the spread there. It's going to be closer than what Vegas thinks. Saints are just going to win because they're an overall top-to-bottom better team.